And welcome back to WagerWeekly.com for a Thursday night. We kick off week 2 in the NFL tonight, Minnesota and Philadelphia. We'll get to that game here in a second. We'll preview some of your week 2 matchups coming off really a crazy week 1. Make sure you visit us here each and every day, WagerWeekly.com, where we will break down each one of your NFL games each and every week. Of course, Monday nights, Thursday nights, Friday we'll take a look at the weekend, and then eventually Sunday we'll be here Sunday mornings breaking down live action as it happens. Tell you where we think the best values are. Let me welcome on in Paul Nolan. Joins me each and every week. Mr. Nolan, here we go. Week 2. How are you?
I'm good. Feeling good. My lines have been sharp the first 2 weeks of the season. My numbers are good. They've been really right on with what's happened and what's going to happen this week. Feeling pretty darn good about the game so far. Still, overall, we did win the Jets. It was a phenomenal performance defensively. The crowd was incredible, despite the heartbreak. The amount of camaraderie that team's really showing, especially Robert Saleh running downfield. I mean, he was like the 7th guy to that incredible story, on Hard Knocks. You watch this kid, he's an undrafted, they follow him, they show the story of him. It's almost scripted. Like, wait a sec, I didn't say that. It was just it's fairy tale stuff. Great stuff, great game for them. Horrible news for Jet fans. It's just, once again, team is just so incredibly cursed. It's just incredible. It's shockingly scary. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, it really is unbelievable. 4 plays in, whatever it was. I mean, they said he had the calf injury kind of coming in. I mean, do you think they had any inkling at all that just the wrong move? I mean, you look at him being out there coming off, I guess what we hear is somewhat of a calf injury, that they were kind of really massaging it and kind of taking it easy with him. Do you think this is – I mean, there was a guy who actually tweeted 2 hours before the game when he saw the rain on that field, said Rodgers is going to tear his Achilles here in 2.5 hours at MetLife Stadium for an older quarterback. I mean, it was just – yeah. Some guy tweeted that at like 6 p.m.
Unbelievable. And
on Monday night.
You see some of the online doctors talking about the move. It's interesting to watch how much information there is on YouTube. There's so many great things to look at and study. To me, if that was the case on that absolutely god-awful field, how many times have we talked about it in our time doing this show? We've been doing this, 18 years together now? That field is abysmal. And it's just incredible that with all the money that they have between the two franchises, that they can't have a system to put in high-powered, like super, strong turf and new trays and plates. I mean, there's got to be a way, to have sod farms of like a high-end tight turf. I just don't know why they can't create some kind of a system that meshes these, just keeps the field fresh for these guys. They're worth so much money. I just don't understand it. I really don't, but whatever.
So just to briefly touch on this before we move on to tonight's game, obviously Minnesota heads to Philadelphia. Line open 7, now 6.5. Philly a favorite at home. Talk about that game and a couple others. So do you think, I mean, obviously we know Wilson's probably not the answer. They don't even have a backup on the roster, some guy I've never heard of. What do you think they do? Do you think that Saleh just says, okay, Wilson's our guy, come hell or high water, we're going to ride him? Or do you think they're calling Matt Ryan? Do you think they're calling Phillip Rivers? Do you think they're calling Tom Brady? I mean, what are they doing?
I wouldn't be surprised if they're calling everyone while on and Robert Saleh is just saying, Wilson's my boy. I got him. He's with us. We love him. He's our guy. I wouldn't be surprised if, management is doing everything in their power. They are so close to being a dangerous, top-notch, legitimate threat for the AFC, the tight AFC, with that defense and their skill positions. What did we say last week before we gave out the Jets on the show? And, we talked about Breece Hall might be a backup running back. In what world is Breece Hall a backup running back? When you look at what he did, the second he got on the field, he was like, this is my team. He was amazing. He was legitimately unstoppable. So do they have to go out and find another quarterback? I mean, I keep hearing about Gardner Minshew might be unavailable. I keep hearing about, even Kirk Cousins might be available because Minnesota feels like they're going to be ready for a full rebuild next year. Anything will be an upgrade over Wilson because he couldn't find the second read to save his life. Obviously he was under pressure, but what is he going to face this week? The pressure he faced this week is going to be so incredible. I mean, this defense, they're rallying to say, we're going to keep us in this game. But I don't know how long they can before they finally say, they throw in the towel. Because Dallas, I don't want to overreact. I never want to bet on a team that just won, in a shutout on national TV. It's a almost always go against for me. It's a game where I just don't know what I'm going to do there because remember what I said before? This NFL is perfect. The Bills are going to lose. They're going to go next week. They're going to trounce at home. They're going to absolutely obliterate the Raiders. And the Raiders won last week. So that gives me a perfect example of a Raider team that has to come back feeling too good about himself against a Bills team that's going to be ugly and ornery. I bet the Bills 8 early in the week, a tiny amount. The line wasn't there long. Then I bet it again at -8.5. I still think that's a good value. And I think going the other way, as much as I don't want to, this is too big a line for a Jet defense. This is good. So I'm going to keep an eye on it Sunday morning. If we get a chance to go live, I'll make a final decision on that game. But right now I'm leaning to Dallas or the under in that game.
Yeah, Dallas obviously opened 3, moved to 9. At least at BetUS, they opened 3 there, now sitting at a solid 9. Your totals come from 46.5 in that game down to 38. So it tells you what they think of Zach Wilson and the Jets offense, because obviously the Dallas offense looked pretty decent last week, putting up 40 against a pathetic Giants team.
Well, they really put up less than that, right? Didn't they? They had the kick, the return, and a pickoff run back. Right there.
Well, I just mean that, the team as a whole obviously found their way to 40. So, you have a total in this game of 38. But, all right, we'll get to all the Sunday games. Well, let's take a look at tonight, 103, 104 in your rotation schedule. Obviously, Thursday night, Minnesota with Kirk Cousins heads to Philly. Line open 7 and 48. You're seeing some action on Minnesota. Line's now down 6.5 and 49.5. And obviously, when people think of Minnesota, Paul Nolan, they think about 11 and 0 in one-score games last season. Some quick karma came last week, 20-17, a loser, losing the turnover battle, 3-0 to the Buccaneers. A lot of Minnesota fans up in arms already. Is O'Donnell the answer in Minnesota? A lot are starting to think maybe not. What do you see here in this game tonight?
Well, interesting matchup. And what to me is interesting is looking at the lines. When you look at this game comes out and 64% of the public, but only 44% of the money is on Philadelphia. And that line goes from 7 to 6.5. And 7.5, it opened at Circa. Circa's a big boy now. And, for them to open 7.5 and go right to 6 just tells me sharp guys are really betting the Minnesota Vikings here, which again, this is one of those things where Philly looked terrible last week. I don't know how they managed to cover that game against the Patriots, who I still feel like were a better team that day, better coaching staff. I mean, obviously, I don't think Nick Sirianni is going to be one of these like game-changing guys long term. I think he's too theatrical. I think he'll burn out. I think his act will wear thin. I think the 2 new coordinators there makes a big difference. But I was leaning Philly in this one just because I thought that, I just don't know how Minnesota's offensive line is going to have any ability whatsoever to keep really, Jalen Carter out of the backfield. I mean, that kid, the rookie from Georgia, was phenomenal. He was an upgrade over, I'm overreacting. He might be an upgrade over Hargrave after what we saw last week. Fletcher Cox was still great. This whole defensive line has still got some depth to it. The cornerbacks are obviously good, but, losing James Bradbury is a big deal. And, I still don't love their linebacker position. I got to be honest.
Eagles lose Nakobe Dean. That's a big deal. Obviously one of their best linebackers.
Yeah, without a doubt. Losing him, losing Gainwell. It's the injuries have mounted here. So for me, part of me feels like this game should go over, but I just don't know if I can trust Minnesota to give me, 22 points. I don't know if I can trust them to give me, 23 points. And I don't love the game, but if I had to lean on something, I probably would take Philly as half of a teaser bet, and I would leave it open until next week, or I would, I'd make sure I found a team like, Tennessee, a team like, the Colts, a team that I know that could bring their, 2.5 points through to 8.5 on a 2-team 6-point tee where it's not expensive. So I would try to get Philly down to 1. But again, I'm leaning Philly in this game just because of the absolute mismatch on the defensive line to the offensive line, with Darisaw being hurt, playing last week with a hurt ankle, and he's the anchor to that defense. I mean, that offensive line, forgive me, and this defense should be able to just wreak havoc. They were in the backfield all day last week and against through the interior against the Patriots, who I thought their offensive line was going to be better than what they showed last week. But they still managed to make a lot of plays to the outside, and they still managed to create some holes on the edges. So I'm not sure where I'm afraid Philadelphia might be a touch overhyped right now. They might have a little of that Super Bowl hangover. I think they're going to be fine long term because their roster overall is excellent. These injuries now come at a bad time. So I would lean Philly. I don't want to make this an official play. It will not be in my circa bets. I'm not going to be using the game, but I would definitely, I would lean to Philly definitely in a teaser bet with any team that's getting 2.5 that you could rise it up to. You could bring it through, 3 and 7 to make it a nice, valuable tease. But we'll finish that tomorrow. My work on the rest of the board isn't complete. I do like a lot of games already going into it. I'm pretty much narrowed down, but I haven't really. I just don't want to pass. I don't want to use this game with any kind of strength. So if anyone's out there, sorry to waste your time, but just want to give you the thought process.
Minnesota 1-7 against the spread, their last 8 as a dog, and obviously you look back to last year, these two teams did meet in week 2, and obviously Philly handled them fairly easily, 24-7, so they have that to look at too. You wonder if the Eagles were. I don't think the Eagles were looking past the Patriots, but like you said, you referenced last week's game, 16-0 lead, and then obviously how they covered that is a miracle, how they win is a miracle with how things unfolded in that game. You just wonder if Philly finds a way to really get it on track, because if I had looking at both teams off of week 1, if you forced me to decide which one of them is truly not as good as we think, it's probably Minnesota. I think Philly was probably overlooking a little bit week 1, a little lazy out of the box. They had some things fall their way, but I'll tell you, Minnesota, I just don't think they're that good. I think the quarterback's time is come and gone. I don't think the coach is the answer. So I'm kind of with you. If I had to lean on this game, I'd probably lean Philly to win this by at least a touchdown.
Yeah, almost have to at this point, especially, Minnesota looks to me like there is some disturbance in the locker room already, and the rumblings already. And we know Philly's got a great locker room still. They got a lot of leadership. Jalen Hurts is loved in that locker room. I'm leaning that way too. But like I said, it won't be in my Circa or Westgate tournaments, but I will be. I'll be leaning towards it on a full blown pick and pull. Where if you have to pick every single game, I would lean that on that as well. So, but I'm the jury's out for me on the total. I just don't know if I could trust Minnesota's offensive line to give me 23 points, to give me an over. So I just don't like it. I just don't like it. I like the way the line moved from, where did it go? From 48 to 49.5. So tells me sharp guys are playing the over, and the public is kind of playing the over. No real opinion, guys, but I definitely like some more games going on tomorrow. For Sunday. There's some games on the board I really like.
Is there any games of, I look at the Chargers game, and that's an interesting game to me because I'm looking at week 1 teams who probably should have won or played better, who had really terrible losses or had unexpected losses. And I look at that Chargers game coming up. They go on the road to Tennessee. Obviously, the loss to the Dolphins in week 1. What are you looking at that game? Obviously, lined open 3, stayed a solid 3, 46.5 down to 45. Chargers on the road. You think they bounce back here?
Well, look, so for me, Tennessee looked really bad. Outside of Nuke Hopkins, that's all Tannehill targeted, and he just missed so many. He just missed so many open chances against him. It was really strange to watch. I watched that game twice, and unfortunately, it was ugly. It was just a tough one. We said it last week. It was a pinch your nose game. Take Tennessee if you have to, and the miracle cover they gave everybody with that meaningless field goal with 2.5 minutes to go was just shockingly strange. But, they were going against me. I think New Orleans is an underrated, under-the-radar team defensively as well. And I think the Chargers' offensive line will be an upgrade. So I just, I don't know. I think the Chargers have the weapons galore offensively, and I think that offensive line will be fine. I don't want to go ahead and say I'm ready to jump on the Chargers right now. I just don't like West Coast teams playing at 10 a.m. on their body clock. And, I'm leaning Tennessee here. That's why I mentioned them in a tease with the Eagles tonight, bringing the Eagles to -0.5 or pick them and bringing them up to +9. That's the only thing I would say on this game is if I was doing a 2-team teaser. But, I just want to thank everybody for checking in on the Thursday night games and checking in on us with that. And, we're going to have a bunch of content for you tomorrow. If you guys tune in tomorrow, we'll get through almost the whole entire board tomorrow. And it's crazy. We've gotten almost 10,000 views on TikTok so far. And, we've gotten 1,000 views so far on YouTube. And hopefully, we can build this page. There's nothing to buy. There's nothing to sell. It's just a matter of just checking us out and getting to know us and subscribing to the channel and just commenting. We saw some really fascinating comments on TikTok. People really know football more than ever. It's the most advanced audience ever. And, that's what this is the natural occurrence with, legalization of sports betting. And we just want to try to build a community where we can all help each other, beat the number.
All right, there you go. Minnesota, Philadelphia tonight, Thursday night football. Enjoy the game, everybody. Like Paul said, we'll be back tomorrow with a full breakdown of all the games that have our interest for your Sunday Week 2 card. And we'll do it right here each and every day. Make sure you visit us each and every day right here at wagerweekly.com. Enjoy Minnesota and Philadelphia. We'll see you back here tomorrow.